Good evening. It is 5:33. I now call this meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission to order. City Clerk, would you please conduct roll call?
Commissioner Barraza. Commissioner Collier. Commissioner Dolan.
Present.
Commissioner Duran.
Present.
Commissioner Kucharski is absent. Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Trio.
Present.
Vice Chair Ward.
Present.
Chair McCoy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Kucharski is absent. Is there a motion to excuse her absence?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Dolan. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. I needed that. We will now begin the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will start with the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes or proposed changes to tonight's agenda?
There are no changes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Trillo. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. This item is approved. We will now move on to approval of minutes. Are there any changes or proposed changes to the minutes from August 18th, 2025?
There are no changes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Duran. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Dolan. We having fun tonight already, huh? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
Can't hear you.
Okay. You don't have to abstain, though. No, you don't have to.
Do I have to go through
No,
those?
you're good.
Okay. We will now move on to subcommittee reports. This item is a discussion item for the commission, and no public comments will be taken related to this item. Does the Cultural Arts Grant Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to the commission?
Yes, thank you. The Cultural Arts Subcommittee did meet earlier in the month, and we provided minutes from that meeting that were included in this meeting agenda. And so if you reviewed those, you'll know that we had a initial recommendation of award allocations, and I believe applicants were all notified of that on September 5th, and they had a window to appeal through this evening, and the subcommittee will be meeting tomorrow to review those appeals. If you saw those minutes, you probably also saw that we have some recommendations on process improvements for next year's grant review process. We are recommending that everyone involved in the grant review process next year have the implicit bias training, which is something that was recommended by one of the applicants who had called into the last meeting, something that's done at the California Arts Council, and we thought that it would be just helpful for everyone involved to have that added to the training. And then we are asking for community feedback on other process improvements, things we can do to continue to strengthen the process and make sure that everyone feels like they're on, a fair playing field. And I know the Arts Council is taking some feedback, but also the subcommittee members are taking that feedback, and we all care a lot about the process and really just want to make sure that it continues to improve and be better as it moves forward.
Thank you. We will now move on to city administration and park staff reports and comments. Does anyone from the administration have any reports or comments for the commission?
Good morning, Chair, or good afternoon, Chair McCoy, Aaron and Gary, Parks Director. Hard to believe we're in September already, but this is kicking off our budget series. So we are going to be meeting twice a month through September, October, November. So today's presentation will be on the adopted FY26 budget for your assistance. And then do want to offer up, as we go through this, I know this is an opportunity for you all to make recommendations. I'd be happy to meet with you all if you have questions leading up to that on recommendations or, funding questions beyond the meeting. So just want to open that up and let you all know I'm available if you all need me. Other than that, that's it for us. Thank you.
Does anyone from the park staff have any reports or comments for the commission, or you did it all in one?
I did, and I know Assistant City Manager Miller is on her way, so
Okay.
we're good. Thank you.
Okay. We will now move on to unscheduled communication.
Chair, I think you skipped item 7, members' reports.
Oh, I did. Look, because I got these cards, so I'm trying to get to unscheduled communication. We will go ahead and move on to member reports and comments. As a reminder, this is a time for commission members to report anything they feel important for the public or commission to know, but it's not a time for discussion. Commissioner Barraza.
Yes, Madam Chair. I wanted to express my appreciation for the good work of staff in putting together a soccer event last weekend. And I thought it was impressive what can happen when things get organized nicely. And this event took place at the Mosqueda Center, and it was a soccer event, like an abbreviated tournament. And it was very impressive, the quality of the sport. And obviously, all you know that soccer is a growing sport, and that has a lot of demand in our community. And I, as one of the commissioners, get a lot of feedback from the soccer community. So when bad things happen, I also hear it from them. So I just want you to know that there are some things that also are a challenge that later on we'll be discussing publicly that we have to address in working with the soccer community. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Duran.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Vice Chair Ward.
Nothing additional at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Collier.
I'd just like to say a couple things. One, I was very impressed with the event that Lilia Chavez did at the park, showing the columns that were drawn on. A very impressive, very coordinated work, wonderful job. I think highly of what you're doing. I also just curiously, today I was listening to Legacies and Legends on KMJ, and they were talking about the start of baseball in Fresno, and the parks were a big impetus on getting the baseball going, and I thought that was very interesting. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Dolan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to say that I realize that the cultural arts grant process is one that is, by its very nature, difficult to completely resolve in the sense of everyone being happy with it. That'll never happen. But I do want to commend the amount of time and effort and good thought and good faith that has gone into that process with Fresno Arts Council, with the subcommittee members on this commission, and from the arts community at large. I know that it is our fervent hope to keep improving the process, but I also want to say that where it's at right now is a step forward from last year, and that it continues to improve, and that's only through the hard work of the people involved. So I wanted to commend them on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Trelio?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Well, I want to talk about an upcoming event. It's a community mural refresh honoring 93706. Join us in refreshing California's largest street mural, a vibrant tribute to the residents of the 93706 zip code in Fresno. We're inviting residents, community leaders, and local organizations to come together for the special repaint and revitalization event. Let's celebrate our community spirit, resilience, and creativity while preserving this powerful landmark for years to come. So this is going to take place Saturday, September 27th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The location is the corner of Cesar Chavez and Coletti, across the street from Edison High School, and is hosted by Faith in the Valley, Fresno City Council District 3, Councilmember Miguel Ari's office, Southwest Power Team, and Fresno Housing Authorities. I hope to see you all out there. And now we will move on to unscheduled communication. Would any member of the public like to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of this commission? You will have up to 3 minutes. As a reminder, if you would like to comment on a scheduled workshop items, now is the time to make those comments. If you would like to make a comment regarding any of the scheduled hearings, comments will be taken when each item is called. So a question to the audience. I have all these cards. Do you want to come up for unscheduled communication, or do you want to wait until the hearing for the expanded access to arts? Now? Okay. Ome Lopez, would you please come up, please?
In 2018, the Fresno Arts Council invited Dulce up front to the very first meetings about Measure P being placed on the ballot. At that time, one of the most important concerns from taxpayers and the architects of Measure P, including the Arts Council itself, was transparency. That was non-negotiable if the measure was to be successful. Dulce up front did our part. We rallied our networks to help get petitions signed because we believed in this vision. When there was debate over whether Parks or the Arts Council should administer the funds, FAC asked us to stand with them because there was fear Parks would not manage the funds equitably, and we did. Yet today, the very inequities and lack of transparency that we are warned about are unfolding under the Arts Council's administration. Last year, Dulce up front sat with Lilia Chavez and asked how this process would be equitable if artists, cultural bearers, and collectives could not apply without a fiscal sponsor. Her response was, organizations and artists need to figure that out and step it up. And so Dulce up front mission drifted all year, fiscally sponsoring more than 90 applicants, over 70 submitted LOIs, and more than 30 made it through, with at least 17 recommended for funding. We did this without resources, only because we believed in equity. But this process has fallen short of transparency. The review panels were only open to observation after public pressure, and even then, applicants were notified by email just 2 hours before the first session. Nowhere were they told they could actually attend. When I sat in on 8 sessions, I witnessed clear bias, including from the executive director herself. And when scoring makes the difference between a 3.9 and a 4.0, deciding who gets funded or not, that bias matters. This is not new to Fresno. In 1993, during the Arts to Zoo debates, community voices like Radio Bilingüe and Arte Americas warned about inequitable distributions. The Fresno Bee reported at the time that the process was already being called an insult to communities of color. Hugo Morales himself published an analysis showing how allocations left African American and Latino organizations underfunded. The public demanded equity then, just as we are demanding it now. History is repeating itself. And today, Fresno is once again in the headlines for failing the public trust, as reported by Fresno Land just last month. The ACLU and Fresno and the First Amendment Coalition are suing the city of Fresno for violating the Brown Act in its budget processes. When I raised these same concerns about EAAC subcommittee being run as an ad hoc to avoid open meetings, I was told by Commissioner Laura Ward that following the Brown Act was too burdensome. and a matter of staff costs. Accountability and transparency cannot be written off as too expensive. They are the law. Commissioners, this isn't just about this year's grants. We're only in this year 2 of 5-year contract under a 30-year ordinance. If equity and transparency aren't prioritized now, EAAC funds could be taken away from the Arts Council. So I urge you not to approve the EAAC recommendations as presented. Instead, let's make a pause and work collectively to create a process that is equitable, transparent, worthy of the taxpayers who fought for the measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Johannes. Hi, can you say your last name for me?
Yes, Johannes Reinders.
Right. Okay, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Parks Commission. I spoke at the last meeting and had some concerns and some critique that I had made about the application process, and also the review panel process. Briefly, I just want to read some of my transcripts from attending as an observer. August 1st, 5/28. They don't say it in their app, but I know they are going to make this free. August 1st, 6:42. Last year, we still had projects without mural spots. We thought about doing something like this application, but we looked at prices. This application budget won't cut it. It can't be done for the price they're proposing. August 6, 7:38. This organization won this and did this last year. And if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to pick up one of their publications. August 8th, 7:45. Actually, this budget is inflated. None of these comments were made by panelists during the panel review. Facilitation is absolutely important, but there was more than just the panelists that were scoring these applications. It appeared to be Fresno Arts Council staff that were also reviewing and critiquing and grading these applications. Many of us artists and applicants. I myself am I'm an artist applicant, and I had the pleasure to volunteer and help 7 other applications submit. We are all concerned with transparency, and I do not complain for any technical critique. Technical critique is absolutely valid, but when we hear critiques like, we don't believe that your budget can be done, we don't believe that your application counts as art, we don't believe, these are items that every year for the next 28 years, we will not be able to surmount. We can surmount the technical, we can surmount letters of support and a clearer budget, but these parts are not transparent and they're not consistent. As well, we were not allowed, I'm handwriting notes as best as I can, but we're not allowed to type recorded notes. I do know that the Fresno Arts Council recorded these sessions. I would love for these sessions to be open to the public in general, outside of just applicants, and also for the transcripts of Fresno Arts Council's recording to be allowed, as well as Zoom to be allowed. Accessibility, expanded access to this whole process. Thank you so much for your time, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next speaker, Christina Soto.
Hey, everyone. I'm glad to be here today on this side of the dais, advocating for the artist community as a resident and as a fan of the arts and a member of the art community. I just want to echo what the folks before me have said. As a PRAC member, I know that I sat up here with you all last year and we discussed, some of the issues with the process. I agree, it's never going to be perfect. That doesn't mean we can't improve upon it. And so, I think the concerns that we're hearing today are valid and they echo a lot of the issues that occurred last year. And so this year, in wanting to get a better understanding of the process, because from that side, and not being a member of the subcommittee, it was very limiting, and I couldn't get a full perspective of how the process works. So I applied to be a member of the review panel. I am grateful to have been selected. And so I was able to see that process from the panelists' side. And so I echo all of the concerns that were mentioned. I do think that there is a great deal of bias that occurred during the panel meetings. As a member of the review panel, we were given feedback. We were given instruction to only consider what was included in the application, but there were instances where the Fresno Arts Council did input their own personal opinions and adding additional information other than what was in the application for certain organizations where I feel could have given an unfair advantage or disadvantaged the other applicants that didn't have the benefit of that added advocacy. I did reach out to Committee Member Ward about some of my concerns, and I also offered some suggestions that I would like to share with you all as well, since the only one that seemed to be adopted was the training, which is great, but I don't think that that will be effective in addressing the larger issues which we heard about today. One of the suggestions that I made was making this subcommittee a standing subcommittee. I think that that would benefit in being able to work out the process. It is still very new throughout the year, and also address the issue of transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Cassandra Herman.
Good evening. I'm the Program Director for Arts Enrichment for All, and we are currently a fiscal sponsor for emerging projects. Like others here, I am here to inquire about what the true purpose of Measure P truly is. I understand that it is to revitalize our city and to introduce more arts and culture into our community, but I feel as though we may be missing the mark. I am just curious how the council decided upon the award percentages of 30 and 60%. That is such a huge gap. The intent to award truly does not align with sustainability of projects and organizations that are trying to get off the ground and improve our community. Was there any intention to advance new and emerging projects or organizations? What happens to the funds if these projects cannot succeed on the percentage allotted to them? Did the council truly look at what would help with keeping organizations and activities in our community instead of just one-off events? For those projects who are needing to rent a space, for example, that alone does not come cheap. If an organization was asking for $50,000 for a project and was only awarded $15,000, there is no way that that project is going to be executed well. My other question is regarding a rubric to how these funds were awarded. There was a clear rubric last year, but none was published for this year. Why? Was there a rubric? If there is a rubric, will we be given it? And will we be given our scores for the various subsections of the rubric? It is extremely difficult to shoot for a higher score when we are not given input or given the areas on which we need to improve. Unfortunately, this round for Measure P was filled with uncertainties, confusion, and inconsistencies. I can only hope that the council takes into consideration the points that my fellow community members have brought up and that we better this process. We take our roles at Arts Enrichment for All as a fiscal sponsor seriously and are invested in mentoring emerging artists, projects, and organizations to build sustainability. We would not be doing our job as a fiscal sponsor if we did not pose these questions to the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask her a question? No?
No,
Okay.
this is
I'll
just for,
talk to you afterwards.
Perfect, thank you.
excuse me. Alicia Rodriguez.
Hello. Here we are again. I'm Alicia Rodriguez. I am the chair and co-founder of the Labyrinth Art Collective, a local arts organization in the Tower District. We particularly serve underserved and marginalized performing artists. So our mission is to give platform to folks who don't have it. So obviously this whole objective of this cultural arts plan and the expanded access to arts and culture grant is dear to us. Not just for our own funding, and for, just for context, we did get recommended for funding. We wrote our buns off, and we worked hard. But the process itself, I would be remiss to not mention some issues systemically with how this is executed. Even though I have a grant writer on my board, I'm fortunate, and who cares a lot about this as well. However, navigating the process with those skill sets, I hold a master's degree in my career. I also know how to write, but the process itself, and I talk to community members, one thing I will be very proud of is our connection to community, and that's probably more important than anything when it comes to our efforts. And hearing from them that the process wasn't only hard to navigate, wasn't only hard to navigate, but they just wanted to give up. That's disconcerting. I'll be honest, I like what I do, but I'd want to see a lot more of it. And I think that's kind of the point here, is we're here to see Fresno's art scene become a little more vibrant. I know I grew up here, I moved away, came back, and I'm looking around and I'm like, why are we still here? This is a unique opportunity right now. The political climate isn't an enigma, and arts and cultural funding isn't as readily available. Fresno has an opportunity to really give itself something to be proud of, and I really, really wish we could get there. However, if this isn't expanding access and making it equitable, then that's not going to happen. I did see some inconsistencies. I did observe one of the panel reviews with, it's already been mentioned that there's input outside of the proposal itself, which isn't very objective. But there was inconsistency with the kinds of feedback for arts and cultural. And I know I have limited time left, but one important point I do want to make is that that arts and culture are intertwined largely for marginalized communities. And there were several comments that I found a little unsettling as far as art for art's sake and kind of segregating that issue. But culture is inherently, I have indigenous culture, there's black culture, there's Pinoy Asian culture. Look at every indigenous culture. You'll see art, you see music, you see decor, decor. That's something that's not recused from this effort, and I think we need to pay attention to the inconsistencies. I think other folks are mentioning that more in depth, but that's what I wanted to concentrate on.
Thank you. Next speaker, Elizabeth Lavelle.
Hello, panel. I am Elizabeth Lavelle. I'm the president of the Fresno City and County Historical Society, and I'm here talking particularly about the cultural side of this grant. We served as fiscal sponsor, as was requested by the park last year, to Southwest, Southeast, and Central projects. Some got funded, some did not. That is not really what I want to talk about. I, too, listened in to a session, and I would have to say, I first want to compliment the Arts Council because this is an extraordinarily cumbersome process for this organization with a small staff to manage year after year. However, I have been writing grants for 35 years, and never in one time, national, state, or local, have applicants been able to hear lifetime the comments of the readers. That is very unusual, and I think it had its pluses and minuses this year. Minus is that because people know each other, names were on the screen, I was concerned about that. There were bias for sure. I feel that there's a better process moving forward for selecting the people that review the applications. Particularly, there are experts in art and culture outside this region that would not have conflict. It's a simple move. This is something that's done with every other grant, and it's very dangerous to let people who are hearing applications. I understand transparency. I was appalled by some of the comments. I don't feel that the panel I heard were well trained on the distinction between arts grants and cultural grants. For example, in one application in particular, the question was, how many artists will you employ? Well, this was a museum grant. It was not an artist's grant. And they put NA because it wasn't applicable. Yet, the panel marked them down on that. It is important that cultural groups get their part of this funding because so much comes from that. It is just intrinsic to the nature of this community that all groups be represented. I think that was improved upon this year, but I would like to see a more equitable, perhaps interference from anybody's opinion, just to take it out of town and let people read it that are experts in community arts and culture in the future. I think that would help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brandon Wise.
Slouch if it helps. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and community members. My name is Brandon Weiss, and I'm the executive director of Chanticleer Shakespeare Co., Fresno's first professional Shakespeare company. First off, I'd like to genuinely thank the Fresno Arts Council and the panelists for recommending our project for Measure P funding. We understand that that is not the case for all applicants, and respectfully, we are grateful for that recognition of our work. And at the same time, I feel a responsibility to raise a few concerns that I believe are important, not just for our organization, but for the integrity and long-term success of this process. It has come to our attention, as many have already said, that access to panel reviews were granted to some applicants by the Fresno Arts Council, but not all. We never received any notification. That inconsistency has real consequences. When some organizations are able to hear panelists' feedback, initial impressions to applications, or discussions around specific guidelines or expectations, and others are not, it creates an uneven playing field and undermines the transparency we all expect from a public process like this. In addition, I respectfully ask for some thought to be given to the overarching goal of the EAAC funds. Is it the intent to spread limited funds to as many organizations as possible? Or is it to provide sustainable financial support that actually allows artists and organizations to fully realize their visions? Awarding 30% of a proposed budget, while appreciated, often falls short of supporting what is needed to implement a meaningful and lasting program. In many cases, it leaves organizations in a difficult position. Either scale down an ambitious vision meant to serve the greater community, or scramble for additional funding in a landscape that is already highly competitive. Last year, the award tiers were between 75% and 100% of the budgeted requests. Had any applicant known that there was a potential that only 30% of the requested funds would be awarded, we would have proactively established a scalable game plan into the application and project-specific budgets of our organizations to ensure the continued success of our project. But this was not the case. This was an unexpected new wrinkle this year. And one final thought. A deadline is a deadline. The extension of the LOI deadline was a continuation of extensions that we saw last year as well. If an applicant can't meet a deadline, what leads us to believe that they can have fiscal responsibility with the funds that are awarded? We believe in what Measure P represents. We believe in the power of arts and culture to transform lives and neighborhoods. And that's why we ask for this process to continue to evolve with transparency and sustainability at its core. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone online?
Yes, we have Amy Kitchener.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. This is Amy Kitchener, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for California Traditional Arts based in Fresno. I want to focus on one critical area of concern about the lack of public process of the ongoing Arts Subcommittee of PRAC and its role in dictating policy without the full participation of the PRAC. Since the PRAC began, a 3-person Arts Subcommittee was tasked as an advisory working group to work with Fresno Arts Council in developing guidelines, setting allocations, as well as determining the specific allocation formula and approach for determining awards. These subcommittee meetings are not publicly accessible, and the city attorney has reportedly determined that the committee is not a standing committee and therefore does not require compliance with the Brown Act as a public meeting. We would like to request the city attorney's analysis on this issue and what criteria was used to make this determination. How is this not a standing committee when the committee has existed for multiple years with an appointed chair and handles the same matters for each grant cycle? The Arts Subcommittee is setting the funding amounts where 82% of the funding was earmarked for established organizations and just 18% was for emerging organizations. The greatest number of applicants came to the emerging projects category with 114 eligible applicants. Only 54% of applicants in emerging projects were recommended for funding, in contrast to the established organization categories, which has success rates of 86 and 96%. The current funding structure over-indexes to established organizations relative to their share of requests and under-indexes emerging. These policy decisions are not coming before the full PRAC, nor has there been opportunity for public input. The committee has also set the funding formula for awarding the grants without input from the full PRAC, as seen in the intent to award notice. In essence, the Arts Subcommittee is making the sausage, and we, the public, are just getting it served up to us. Isn't the full PRAC the policy-making body for Measure P? I urge the full PRAC to be engaged in the discussion about the allocation of the 4 EAAC funding pools for emerging and established organizations, as well as the specific grant allocation methodology. And finally, I believe that the Arts Subcommittee is a standing committee by definition and needs to comply with the Brown Act. Thank you.
Next, we have Paula Allen.
My name is Paula Allen. I lived in Fresno for 40 years. I'm a grant writer with an early childhood degree from Fresno State, and I raised my children here. This evening, I'd like to address the inconsistencies in the grant process, as you've heard some before. But during the letter of intent process, I found a question that could be interpreted in a few different ways and would weigh on the outcome of approval of the LOI. Lilia continuously emphasized that we should look at the intent of the grant and the cultural arts plan. A call was made to the Fresno Arts Council for clarification. The employee at the FAC interpreted the question a certain way. A day later, another person called with the same question. Lilia, her answered the question with a total different intention. And the first person was never called back to clarify. So this intention, looking at the intention is ethereal. It's like, what is the intention? The FAC held a grant writing workshop on 4/7. It was stated at this workshop how pleased they were to have more applicants submitted this year than last year. This comment made no sense because the Friday before this meeting, the LOI deadline was extended 1 week to give others a chance to apply. What a contradiction. It makes me, and I'm sure others, wonder about the extension, since this negated the reason they said they pushed the deadline out a week. From what I've learned, and we've heard tonight, many of the applicants were not invited to review panels and others were invited. I was invited to the final review panel over Zoom I attended. The one thing I would like to openly address is around the final application review. I heard the discussion where the organization was not even eligible to apply as the LOI they submitted was for a different category than the application they submitted. Then a discussion ensued on their offering of programs inside the schools during instructional hours. When Lilia was asked to respond, she did not come to the microphone. The panel decided to score them anyway. This was inconsistent and raises the question, how should they have been eligible for scoring when they didn't turn in the correct application? And one of the caveats that is specifically stated in this year's qualification is that events cannot take place at schools during instructional hours. I appreciate you taking into consideration the things you've heard and will hear this evening, as we know your hearts and your tax money are also part of this grant to expand access to the arts in the city of Fresno. Thank you.
Next, we have Kyle Lopez Schmidt.
Hello, Commission. Kyle Lopez Schmidt. I'm the Executive Director of the South Tower Community Land Trust. We are a grantee from the past round of Measure P, and we successfully completed our proposed mural with an 80% budget allocation for that. This has been an illuminating process, having transparency into the review, and you cannot uncork the bottle. I would say that seeing the level of bias that I've witnessed against our organization from Lilia in the review was shocking and disheartening. The experience that I had in watching it was one, we had an unfair playing field with only one of the reviewers showed up to the panel review and in many ways got bullied by Lilia. Her first comment was that after looking back at our application, after reviewing several budgets, she saw that our budget was quite good and wanted to increase our score. At that point, Lilia interrupted her and said, that budget is actually quite inflated, and went into a monologue about how much a mural should cost, using information that is not published in the guidelines and was information not brought up in the review of any other mural, and was also built upon an error that Lilia made about the square footage of our mural. She only calculated half of it, and so obviously the budget looked inflated. But when you include the total amount, it was below the benchmark that she set. When I confronted her with this issue by email, she said it did not affect scoring and left it at that. No apology, no effort to communicate to other reviewers about this error. And that was our experience with our grant. But listening to others, there was many areas where Lilia spoke up in favor of certain projects and spoke negatively about others in a very inappropriate manner. And I think this experience has throws into doubt the scoring and this process, that this commission should not accept these recommendations and should look back at how we can truly make this an equitable process that increases access to arts and culture. Thank you.
There are no more speakers online.
I will now close unscheduled communication, and we will now move on to workshops. ID number 25-1223, workshop presenting the Mayor's Parks After School Recreation and Community Service Department budget for fiscal year 2026. Would someone from the Parks Department please begin the presentation?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. I am Tu Zhang, Business Manager with the City of Fresno Parks Department, and I'm here this evening to present to you the Parks Department fiscal year 2026 Measure P adopted budget. Before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our incredible staff from the Parks Department. I'd like to first thank Director Aguirre, along with Assistant Director Shelby McNabb, for their leadership, guidance, and support throughout the budget bill process. I'd also like to thank my support staff, Senior Management Analyst, Mr. James Jackson, who is also here with us tonight, for his support and for helping me meet through important deadlines throughout the budget bill. Also, I'd like to extend a thank you to all of our division managers, program managers, area managers, and Parks Capitals team, along with my fiscal team, who are not here with us tonight, but they played an instrumental role in helping us build the FY26 budget. In addition, also want to extend a special thank you to our fellow colleagues from the Budget and Finance Department who helped us submit a balanced budget. And in addition, thank you to Department of Public Works, Public Utilities, who helped us prepare the presentation for tonight, and they're also here as well. So, Commissioners, I just want to note that it took a collaborative effort between various staff and departments to deliver to you a robust and complete budget for FY26. So, couldn't have been done without these fine individuals. With that, let's proceed with the presentation. Did we want to?
So, Chair McCoy, part of the presentation has some slides that have highlighted columns for your reference. That's not on here for you all to see. On your presentation material, you can kind of see it. It's grayed out. I'm referring to, I think it's page number 3 or 4. We can wait for the City Clerk's office to get this up on the screen, or Mr. Jean can continue if you all want to follow along with the handouts, if that's, oh, I see, you've got yours up.
And mine is not up.
How would you like to proceed? Would you like us to wait while the screen gets readjusted, or go ahead and go through?
I think we can go through it. We're familiar.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. All right.
It's the matrix, Bernard. It doesn't want to load up. You can proceed.
Just proceed. Okay.
Do you need
all
a
right.
hard copy, or do you have yours?
I have a copy of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So tonight's presentation will consist of the following key components. Parks team will present with an overview of the FY26 Measure P adopted budget, providing a breakdown of revenue forecasted, along with expenditures appropriated for each category. From there, we will transition over to Mark Standruff, Director of Beautify Fresno, who is here tonight and will be speaking on Category 5 funding. In addition, we also have Director Mosier from Department of Public Works, who will also be touching on Category 5 funding as well. So once we hear from all departments, we will then proceed to review Commissioners' recommendations and then close out the presentation with a look at our tentative FY27 budget timeline, and then we will entertain any questions from the commissions. So next slide, Commissioners, I present to you the Measure P adopted budget for fiscal year 2026. This table provides a high-level overview of our adopted budget, in which many of you are familiar with this table. However, I am going to just provide a quick overview on how to decipher the information in this table. So reading it from left to right, top to bottom, we have funding.
I'm sorry. I think you need to advance the slides with your pointer there.
Is it working? It's not responding.
There we go.
Okay, now it's working. All right, okay, all right. So we have the funds broken down by departments and then category, followed by sub-funds, and then a description of each of the categories below it. From there, we have we have revenue, and I want to highlight the beginning balance. Beginning balance represents our carryover from fiscal year 2025. And as you can see, within Parks Department, we have category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 allocated to parks. And then we have category 5 allocated to Public Works and Department of Public Utilities, with some category 1 and 2 appropriations allocated to our capital projects team. In terms of revenue, we have our beginning balance, as I mentioned earlier, which is carryover from FY25, with about roughly a total of $40.8 million from across all categories. And then from there, we have our tax revenue projection. And as a reminder, the tax revenue projection, this was forecasted by our consultant, which we anticipate to receive roughly $47.1 million by FY26. And then we also have other revenue, which consists of interest, $2.8 million, to make up a total of $90.9 million for all of all the categories in Measure P. In terms of appropriation, this table breaks down each department allocation by program operations and by capital. In the next few slides, I will dive deep into each category, and you'll see how and where fundings were appropriated. Predominantly interest, yes. All right, here we have our Measure P, Category 1, which accounts for about 46% of the overall Measure P fund. And as you all may know, Measure P Category 1 is broken down into two different sub-funds, one for existing parks citywide and the other for existing parks and highest needs. Category 1 funding predominantly is housed in our parks operating and capital sections, and parks accounts for $10.3 million and $10.3 million in Category 1 citywide, $1.4 million in Parks Ranger, $4.2 in Parks Capital Projects, for a total of roughly $16 million in Category 1 citywide. Category 1 highest need, on the other hand, consists of $8.6 million in the Parks Operation budget, $501 in Park Ranger program, and then $10.7 million in Parks Capital Projects, for a total of $19.9 million in appropriations for FY26. I do want to note that we do have some appropriations in Category 1, highest need, and citywide in our Capital Projects Department. The 90,800 and the 59,900 that you see in Category 1 funding is for Capital's Project Department it's for soft costs for the Capital Projects Department to move our capital projects portfolio through the system. In regards to Category 2, which is quite similarly to...
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? So you're carrying the soft costs for those projects that are listed over in Category 1 capital. You're carrying those in Category 2, all the soft costs for those projects?
So we have funding in Category 1, highest need, and citywide. And we also do have some soft costs in Category 2 as well.
Is that all the soft costs? I mean, you say some soft costs. What does that represent? What's driving that breakout?
It represents, and Director Geary, feel free to chime in too, it represents capital projects that's administered and run by our capital parks, not parks capital team.
No, I understand what soft costs are, but you're saying all the soft costs for those capital projects are carried in those lines? Okay.
Correct, yes.
Just want to make sure.
And Commissioner Dolan, on Category 2 here, you'll see down the capital cost there, some of that's for acquisition, purchase of property. So you have acquisition built into that particular category, as well as some of the soft costs, real estate costs, the environmental assessments, things of that nature are captured in that capital line item there.
Okay, can we please hold questions until the end of the presentation, please? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Similar to Category 1, Category 2 also consists of two sub-funds, one for citywide and the other for highest need. Category 2 accounts for 21.5% of the Measure P funds. And before I proceed, I want to just note that the beginning balance, or the carryover that you see in Category 1 and 2, belongs to the old highest need definition. So what you see in the tax row accounts for revenue that's coming in for the highest need definition, the new highest need definition or the current highest need definition. That's how we distinguish the two. As we take a look at a closer look at Category 2, you'll see that majority of the appropriations in our capital are in capital, and with some appropriations in the capital projects department for soft costs. In addition, Category 3, which is meant for senior programming, youth job training, and veterans, Category 3 accounts for 8.5% of the overall funding in Measure P. And as you can see, Category 3 holds the least amount of funding compared to other categories, excluding Category 6. In addition, funding under Category 3 is housed within the Parks operating budget with a total appropriation amount of $3.8 million going into our Parks operating budget for program delivery to support senior programming, youth job training, and veterans. Next, we have Category 4, and as you may know, Category 4 is funding that's passed through to our Fresno Arts Council in support of admin delivery and expanding access to arts. And as you can see, we have a carryover balance of $5.5 million in Category 4, with a projected revenue of $5.6 million for a total of $11.4 million in revenue, and an appropriated amount of $11.1 million. And then last but not least, we have Category 5. Last but not least, we have Category 5, which is predominantly housed with the Public Works Department and Public Utilities. And I do want to note that Category 5 for Public Utilities should have been highlighted as well, but it was just missed. But in addition to that, you'll also see some Category 5 appropriation under capitals for parks, and that 125-100 that you see there is to fulfill the Milburn Overlook capital project, which consists of project management costs, construction management costs, and permitting costs. So with that, I will transition over to Mark from Beautify Fresno.
Thank you very much, and good evening, members of the Commission. Assistant City Manager T.J. Miller, Director of Gary. My name is Mark Standriff. I'm the Director of Beautify Fresno for the City of Fresno. Very pleased to be able to present what, in essence, is kind of an update of the presentation that we made back in the spring for the budget appropriations for our fiscal year 2026 for Beautify Fresno and its operations here in the city. As we kind of close out the end of this calendar year and kind of complete our 5th year of operations here, I'm very pleased to say that we can already start to see some significant changes to the better in our community, not just from the cleanup aspects of trash and graffiti, but also in beautification in a number of projects that, in fact, a couple that I'll get the chance to talk to you about in a few minutes or so. As far as the budget review, this is, let's see, boy, did I jump forward here. How did we? My apologies. I've got a very strong thumb. As you can see, our total budget, Measure P funding that it's allotted for Beautify Fresno for this coming fiscal year is just under $1.5 million. That's a slight reduction from the fiscal year 2025 budget, but in many categories, the amount of spending, or at least the amount of expenditure that's been budgeted has pretty much remained as similar as possible, especially with personnel. $495,000, as you can see, salaries and benefits for 2 quad crews. Just to remind you, as a point made by the mayor to really kind of focus on being more proactive in our litter and graffiti abatement on a regular basis. We wanted to get crews that we could actually assign to areas of the city that would work on a daily basis to look for trash, to look for graffiti. So these quad crews, we divided the city into 4 quadrants, basically Blackstone and Shields as being the dividing lines there, and each crew was assigned to one of those quads. They're out there every single day, and again, not waiting for reports from our Fresno or 311 calls, but they're out there looking for the trash and have been already very successful. So we have 4 crews that are out there, 2 of those crews being funded through the Category 5 in Measure P. Landfill tipping fees is another large portion of our budget for this coming year. That's basically the cost that we are charged by our vendors to be able to take the trash that we collect, and then they can dispose of it properly and safely. Public relations and information has stayed pretty much the same since we first started Beautify Fresno back in 2021. Fleet services, those are the categories that really kind of combine all of the vehicles that we use. And again, these quad crews are out on a regular basis. So in there, these are backloader trucks, these are pickup trucks, and also a couple of claws that we have to be able to handle some of the more troublesome trash areas. The category of materials, supplies, and equipment, this is now kind of covering all of the tools, the equipment, the clothing, and the cleaning supplies. And again, not just for the volunteer efforts that we have, but again for our quad crews that are out there and that are managing the cleanliness of our streets on a daily basis here. And then finally, the miscellaneous category. We've managed to combine a couple of things here, and one of the things that I know has been very important to all of us working through Beautify Fresno, from the mayor, city manager, and all the way down, is to now start thinking about providing funding for beautification projects. And that would include anything from tree planting to community garden, building and restoration. That also includes murals, street art, and other beautification projects. And then trying to find some repair or restoration for green space out there that we all know that the city of Fresno desperately needs. So all of those totals come down to $1,448,500. That's roughly half of the Beautify Fresno budget. The Beautify Fresno budget is split between receiving funding from the general fund as well as Measure P funds. Let's see if I can advance without shooting me forward. As far as the accomplishments from this past fiscal year, one of the things that I mentioned, our quad crews, this is again a proactive project that has sent these crews out on a daily basis. And since October of last year, up until now, they proactively removed over 4 million pounds of trash. That's a remarkable statistic, and it shows, I think, the kind of focus that our crews have on a daily basis. From our community service opportunities and the cleanup and beautification the events that we have really pretty much on a weekly basis, we average over 150 cleanup and beautification events per year. That's just a little bit less than 3 per week. And over 9,000 volunteers serving at all of those locations throughout the year. One of the things that I'm especially proud of is the fact that we are continuing to find more and more people that are raising their hands to say, I want to be part of this movement that we feel that we've created. And so last year alone, we had 1,400 new volunteers. These are people that had never signed up for a Beautify Fresno event before fiscal year 2025. And so it not only speaks to, I think, the effectiveness, but the fact that the word of mouth is getting out. And as people are thinking about, well, I'd really like to do something for the community. My kids have some community service obligations that they've got to complete, or I'm a property owner that wants to get my employees out for some sort of a team building exercise. These folks are constantly coming to us and saying, I heard about you, I want to be part of this. And to have that many new volunteers showing up year after year after year, again, it speaks to the success of the program. I mentioned this back in the spring, but the designation finally became official. Fresno was the first city in the state of California to be designated as a Clean California community. This is something that Governor Newsom started through his Clean California program. He wanted to have cities like Fresno to be able to say, we're going to make a commitment to cleanliness. We want to do everything we can to make our cities be a cleaner, greener, more beautiful place to live. And Fresno was the first city to raise its hand, and the state now proudly has officially made that designation public. We had a number of large projects in the past fiscal year. A couple of them you may have heard about. We had a group from a local church who thought it would be nice to be able to help us paint the spiral garage. I will tell you that, and I know that Assistant City Manager Miller and Director Aguirre were also part of this Herculean effort, but we literally had over 500 volunteers painting the interior of the spiral garage and the walls and the support columns in the individual floors. And that actually took place over a 3-weekend period, a few hours on a Saturday each weekend, but it was monumental. And then we had a number of local students that helped us out in repairing and cleaning up around the Mosqueda Center, and worked with the Bullard High School folks to be able to give their students a chance to plant flowers and to beautify their campus. One of the things, though, I think is the most exciting, and that is the fact that as we get into beautification, we're going to be seeing, hopefully, more and more mural and street art projects. And 2 of them just wrapped up at the end of the month of July. They were a long time coming, took a lot of planning, a lot of execution, but showing that various agencies, including Caltrans, Public Works, Public Utilities through Beautify Fresno, our Parks Department, Fresno Arts Council, and even members of the communities in which these works of art are now being displayed. And I appreciate Commissioner Caglia for mentioning the fact that the columns under San Pablo Park there at basically Belmont along 180, 20 columns, artists from not only the Fresno area, but around the Central Valley participated in this, getting input from our community to find out what kind of images, what kind of themes that they want to see. It's really a remarkable collection of artistic and creative prowess, and I invite people to go out and take a look at that. We started the Clean California grant project that basically went along 180, starting at First Street and going all the way to Blackstone. We had abutment slopes that have murals that are now on there, 3 columns that are there near First Street in the Romaine Community Center, and a large mural on top of the community center. These things were all completed here just this past summer, and we hope really that that's kind of the start of a consistent process that will provide city assets and state assets for folks that have ideas that they want to share and to be able to put their creativity on a public canvas, which we think is a very important part of the Beautify Fresno mission. And then one final quick thing, and this is as a request from the Parks Department. We noticed that after some of the major holidays, Easter, Mother's Day, 4th of July, there's a lot of trash to pick up at our local parks because people want to be out and celebrate and have a good time, and the trash receptacles are just not enough to be able to cover that. So we started a program in which our volunteers show up on the Monday morning afterwards, work with the parks maintenance staff, and to be able to clean up our local parks after the celebrations are taken care of. And it started out with just 5, and I think we're going to expand that out to at least double for this next year. That's it for my presentation. I'll be around for questions afterwards, but now it's time for me to turn things over for the Public Works presentation for fiscal year budget 2026.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And good to be with you, members of the commission, Madam Chair. I'm Scott Mosier, Public Works Director, and here to talk about expenditure category 5 within the Public Works Department. So starting off, and that covers 3 separate subcategories. The first being the trail ATP type of work. That amounts to 47% of Measure P expenditure category 5. First being trail maintenance. Measure P funds our full-time dedicated citywide trail maintenance crew So that's an ongoing item that continued into fiscal year 26. Also, council made a motion that was adopted allocating 40,000 of those Measure P trail funds to enhancement of a trail. It's track 6336, Laverne, Weldon area. So that's kind of in the east central part of Fresno. And that's adding amenities to that green space and to that trail facility. Next project you'll see here, the way Measure P is leveraging dollars. So $800,000 of Measure P was allocated toward the Midtown Trail. This is segment 3, running between Shields and McKinley, kind of between First and Shields and down to Millbrook and McKinley. So $800,000 of Measure P is leveraging over $3.5 million of federal air quality grant funds to deliver that project. So we're trying to make the most of those dollars. And that's an exciting link in central Fresno and a part of the community that has not had any trails whatsoever. Next part of the Midtown Trail, $1,777,700. Also the Midtown Trail, what we call segment 1, west of Fresno Street, kind of near the 41 freeway. And these dollars are accompanying, in partnership, accompanying $1 million from Caltrans to help make that connection for the last part of the trail. The budget included $100,000 for trail urban greening, which primarily that goes in partnership with other groups. So in years past, some of these dollars partnered with Tree Fresno on a trail project involving additional tree planting. So that's once again in the budget. And then shifting gears, the commission will recall that Measure P Category 5 also includes not only trails, but it includes Class 4 protected bike lanes. In years past, we had the Barstow bike lane corridor that was completed with Measure P funds. This project is a new grant. It accompanies an affordable housing project at Dakota and Blackstone, and it includes basically building protected bike lanes and a number of transit system improvements on that corridor. So the adopted budget has $1.8 million in Measure P, which accompanies $3.4 million in state grant funds for that corridor. So again, the leveraging aspect of it. All right, and let's see. Okay, and moving on, next slide. So another category amounting to 18% of the program are the funds dedicated to the San Joaquin River Parkway. So the adopted budget has 3 different items there. $250,000 is ongoing, the trail maintenance crew. So I talked about the citywide trail maintenance crew. So they've got a lot on their plate citywide. They are ranging from a 60 to 90-day maintenance cycle, but that's everything from Southeast Fresno, McKenzie Trail. Southwest Fresno will have the brand new trail funded by TCC, to the Sugar Pine, to Willow, to Herndon Trail, all over the community, and the Midtown Trail. So they have a lot on their plate. This funding through Measure P San Joaquin River Parkway is only for, it's dedicated only for the River Parkway. So they are there every day maintaining things like the Eaton Trail, the McMichael Loop Trail, Jensen River Ranch area, all the way out to the west end of the reaches, closer to Riverside Golf Course. So they're doing that work. Last year we highlighted 82 new trees planted by this crew as part of that work. And again, they're continuing that work every day, filling gopher holes to repairing irrigation, dedicated work. In the parks presentation, you noted the Milburn Overlook project. So that's just noted here again for clarity. That's in the parks budget, but that's $112,000 funding to finish the project this year. And then lastly, third item, which coincidentally is also $250,000. This is a lump sum item for minor capital improvement projects along the San Joaquin River Parkway. These funds are being utilized in partnership with the San Joaquin River Conservancy and with the Parkway Trust, which we'll come back to as we review some budget motions a little bit later in the presentation. But we are meeting monthly. We are prioritizing that work towards necessary projects with both of those groups who are listed in the measure in the expenditure plan language. All right, and lastly, I get the three categories here of, oops, my apologies here. Let me go. Like Mark, the thumb is doing too much here. All right, let me get back here. Okay, and lastly, to close this out, so there's shared with the Beautify Fresno team is the Major Street Beautification and Litter Control category of Measure P. So this year's budget includes $140,000 for highway litter control. That is in partnership or leveraging $100,000 from Measure C through the transportation sales tax measure, and $400,000 from Caltrans. That enables a weekly cleanup service on the 41, 2 times per month on all the other freeways, 99, 168, and 180, plus a hotspot cleanup that's available through the vendor. On beautification projects, our City Council adopted 2 motions totaling $325,000. And that's to complete the Shaw Avenue median island work. It's as noted in Council District 4, so east of the 41, and then also additional median island beautification. That'll be irrigation, tree planting, and wood chips, mulch type of treatment. And lastly, we've shared before, staff, about the 1,000 Tree Initiative that our council adopted, setting a goal of 1,000 net new trees every year through 2035. So once again, we've met that goal each year, and the adopted budget includes $910,000 of Measure P beautification funding, Major Street beautification, for that tree planting program. All right, and with that, I will turn it back over to our Parks Department to go over commission recommendations.
Thank you, Director Sandriff and Director Mosier, for your presentation. The next few slides, we will be reviewing the FY26 Commission recommendations pertaining to parks, and then we'll also be looking at recommendations pertinent to Public Works. I want to note that there are a total of 20 recommendations made by the Commission, and I'll be highlighting some of the recommendations throughout the slides. However, the context of the recommendations are in the budget presentation, which is provided in the handouts that you have, so feel free to read more into it if you like. In this slide, we have 3 recommendations, one of which suggests to allocate $300,000 in support of the youth fee waiver program, making a minor language change so funding applies to not only individuals but also to nonprofit organizations serving low-income residents to help them qualify for fee waiver. In addition, the recommendation also suggests to increase marketing and outreach efforts to encourage higher utilization of the fee waiver. In response, a total of $75,000 was adopted in the FY26 budget. $50,000 was adopted for a youth sports scholarship program, and $25,000 was adopted to support the youth sports fee waiver program. This slide contains additional recommendations, one of which suggests to allocate up to $100,000 for the design and construction of a shade structure for small dog park at Roding. The adopted 26 budget did not include funding for this particular design and construction. However, I would like to note that we do have existing ongoing projects at Roding Park, such as pickleball, futsal, basketball courts installation, as well as park bench replacement, restroom replacements, and story land improvement as well. The following slide also contains 4 additional recommendations from the Commission, one of which suggests to allocate up to $150,000 for the Fresno Arts Council's administration, translation, and related services of the expanded access of arts and cultural grant program. The 26 budget does include $75,000 in general fund appropriations to the Arts Council for outreach and administration of the Arts and Culture Fund. In addition, there were some recommendations from this slide that were not included in the 26 adopted budget. However, I want to highlight ongoing projects that we have right now for some of those locations. For example, Fink White, there's funding for restroom rehabilitation at Fink White for FY26, and similarly for Nielsen Park. We do have over $700,000 in Measure P appropriation for play structure improvement. And although some of these, again, recommendations weren't included in the adopted budget, we do have ongoing capital improvement projects impacting those locations. And lastly, we here are 4 additional recommendations. The adopted 26 budget did not include funding for basketball courts improvement at Nielsen Park. However, as mentioned previously, we do have about $700,000 in Measure P appropriation for play structure improvement at Nielsen Park. And in reference to one of the recommendations suggesting planning and development of a plaza center at the southeast corner of 7th and Cesar Chavez. The property does not belong to Parks, and the council approved a resolution back in April to build affordable housing in that area. And lastly, our 26 budget, Parks Department budget was adopted by council. Next, we have recommendations pertinent to Department of Public Works, and I'm gonna touch on a few, particularly the recommendations impacting the San Juan King Parkway Fund. Just to echo what Director Mosier said earlier, FY26 budget does include $250,000 for San Juan King River Parkway capital projects. In addition to that, Public Works is in discussion with the Conservancy and Parkway Trust to discuss high priority projects. All right, and to close out the presentation, we're going to provide a quick snapshot of our tentative FY27 budget timeline. So we plan to meet back here with you all sometimes in October, and at that meeting, you'll have the opportunity to make recommendations prior to our Parks Department budget bill. So we're aiming and shooting for a PRAC meeting in October, which is next month, and that'll be an opportunity for you all to make recommendations again. In December, the Parks Department will prepare mid-year projections, which will also forecast our FY27 carryover from January to February. This marks the time frame in which departments citywide prepared their budget proposal for submission. And then in March, we anticipate submitting proposed budget into the city budget's management system, and this will house or include park recommendations for base budget, capital projects, and new requests. And then moving forward, we anticipate the mayor to present the FY27 budget to council sometime in May, And then in June, that's where we'll meet and you'll have the opportunity to provide second set of recommendations for Measure P funds to be submitted to City Council. And then lastly, and I want to just point out that the last point should be 27 instead of 26. So in June, we anticipate City Council to hold budget hearings and then move to adopt the budget. And so that concludes the presentation for tonight, and we'll open it up for any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I do have a couple of questions before I turn it over to other commissioners, but it's not on your part. Can I have Mr. Stanford come back up, please? I see Beautify Fresno has been pretty busy in fiscal year 2025. A couple of questions. I noticed that you list a couple of accomplishments on here, but I didn't see anything for the 93706 or Southwest Fresno. Was there anything done in that particular part of town?
I'm very proud to say that 1/3 of our cleanup events happened in Southwest Fresno, mostly in District 3.
Okay.
We focus on them very specifically. 90% of all of our cleanups happen south of Shaw, because we really want to approach the areas that we know have the greatest need. So we work very closely with Districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 to make sure that we are not only addressing for our quad crews, but providing volunteer opportunities for residents from throughout the city to be able to show up in these areas and to provide the investment that they very desperately need.
And also another question I have on your presentation with the quad crews. I'm thankful that they're out there, but how often are they cleaning up graffiti? I'm very curious about
Well, the quad crews do not deal with graffiti at
Okay.
all. That's a separate quad. The graffiti crews go solely through the Public Works Department. But I do know that they have been averaging between 20 to 25,000 service requests for graffiti abatement every year. So they're out there and they're working hard. I don't know if they're proactive or not. I do see them, though, working neighborhoods on a consistent basis.
Is it done in a particular, is it more graffiti in a particular part of town, or is it spread evenly all over town?
Director Mosier would have to answer that question.
Oh, I thought maybe you knew it. You knew how
Well,
much.
I mean, I can speak to it, but I don't have details. So.
Got it.
Scott, go ahead.
So working with our graffiti abatement manager, I want to say it's very interesting to me to find there are definitely seasons of graffiti, things like times of the year. Students go back to school and graffiti goes way up during that time. And it's very interesting, the staff who works in that field day in, day out. As far as parts of the city, what we do is we have a total of 16 full-time staff in the graffiti abatement team, and we adjust their coverage and service territory based upon the volume of activity. Currently, as Mr. Standriff mentioned, much like the cleanup efforts, we have a higher volume in many areas in South Fresno. However, there are certain areas, for example, in North Fresno that keep us extremely busy. One is the Freeway 41 bridge, the old bridge over the San Joaquin River. It's tagged every single week. That's a big target. And we have other areas like that around the city. We do work 7 days a week. We have staff working on Saturdays and Sundays. And the goal is to respond in less than 24 hours to graffiti requests. One exception is where we're dealing with graffiti abatement involving private property. At times we'll often have to obtain permission. For example, last week we removed a large section of graffiti on a building near Jensen and 41, private building. But that was a big success to partner and accomplish that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Oh, might as well stay. I have some more. In regards to the safe walking and biking and ATP priority network programs and projects, has there been any funds used for any trails in Southwest Fresno besides the TCC funds?
Not in Southwest Fresno through Measure P for construction, definitely for trail maintenance. For construction, our largest area growth in Southwest Fresno is around the new State Center Community College campus. And that we're adding, let's see, half mile, we're adding about a mile of new trails in that area, but that's being accomplished through Measure C and a federal grant.
Okay, is there any plans in the future for any bike lanes or any connecting trails? Because I know the hope of the city is to have south, north, west, south, you know, everything connected in the walking trail. So is there any plans to start construction in that?
So absolutely. So a couple things to share. One is we're wrapping up an update of the active transportation plan. We're now at 6 years since the last adoption. There's been quite a bit of community engagement on that, a number of workshops, and we're working to wrap that up this calendar year. And then also to that end, I want to commend people in the community who invested a lot of time in the Southwest Fresno specific plan some years ago, which actually has a pretty ambitious level of new trails to be built. So staff would be looking to both of those plans. And I think that through Measure P, there'd be opportunity in the coming year to really begin some new projects, matching up with implementing those plans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Mosier.
I just wanted to say, as somebody that has been involved in downtown and the business community, every time we call the graffiti team, you were there, Johnny, on the spot. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Glad we want to continue that into the future. Thank you for the feedback.
Well, that ends all my questions. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any questions?
I was wondering, the commission made a recommendation for the allocation of $150,000 to the Fresno Arts Council, and it's noted on the comments that $75,000 did get allocated by the council from the general fund. Did that stay there, or was it, did they get $75,000 more for the 2026 budget?
Correct. That was a motion that was made by council, and it was adopted by council. So it was $75,000 from the general fund.
And it did stay?
Correct.
You know what I mean, because they sometimes make them and then they go through them and then eliminate some. So okay, that's good. The other question I had, I would really like to be able to compare to the prior year all of your expenditures. I mean, I come from the county of Fresno, and we maybe do things a little bit different over there. I'm actually curious about how much general fund you had last year versus this next budget year. Is the general fund participating in the way it was supposed to continue to participate, or are we cutting the general fund appropriations or funding to projects in the Parks Department?
Can you rephrase that question, Commissioner?
The budget has a component that's called general fund, and then you have all types of. It says at the top the revenues. One category is Measure P, and then there are other categories like what you charge the developers for capital improvement funds and stuff like that. But I'm kind of interested in the general fund component, and if we were just looking at your own at your budget of the Parks Department, it has to have a general fund component. I'm just wondering, what is that component? Is it the same as per the prior year, or what is it?
So appropriation for general fund within the Parks Department, in comparison to last year, it did increase a little bit. I'll have to double check the numbers to give you the exact increase, but we did see that it did increase compared to last year.
The general fund did increase?
Right.
And I think to add to that, Commissioner, what you're seeing here are just Measure P funds. We can send you a tray memo with the link to the budget documents to show what the general fund portion of our budget looks like. But to Mr. Zhang's point, it did go up, and we'd be happy to share that with you all.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and I was curious also, and I was actually interested in the beautification project to see how much the general fund participates. And I was wondering whether when we increase the participation of volunteers, does that mean that that reduces the funding allocations that we have to put up, or does that stay growing, or what happens?
So there's always a balance that we have between the work that we do that's funded by both the general fund and Measure P funding, and whatever kind of projects the volunteers do. The volunteers really only provide a minimal percentage of the overall work that we do in cleaning up and beautifying the city. So for instance, the quad crews removed 4 million pounds of trash in fiscal year 2025. Our volunteers removed 125,000. But it's really more the participatory kind of activity that allows people to want to say, I want to invest in this because I see what the city's doing. Their attitude has changed. There's now a sense of accountability. We're not allowing things to just sit there as the status quo. And so we balance those things out. But as far as the funding, no, it's pretty much remained very much similar over the last few years. But I will say that there is some additional funding through the general fund for beautification projects in this coming fiscal year, or this present fiscal year.
Thank you. And one last question, Madam Chair, is do we spend any Measure P money for the unhoused or homeless, or whatever the proper term is, population? Do we do anything in that area?
We do not. We do have park rangers who may come into contact with the unhoused individuals in the parks, but that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Duran, do you have any questions regarding this presentation?
Yeah, I really appreciated all of the presentations. I do have one question for Beautify Fresno. So maybe an open-ended question for any observations. It wasn't covered in the slides, but kind of like the seasons of graffiti, are there any sort of patterns, observations from source of garbage, location, anything like that? That's kind of the direction.
So I've always been a firm believer of anything worth doing is worth measuring. And so we monitor very closely each and every event that we do, the number of people that register versus the number of people that actually show up. So we've got, comparative information there. How many bags that we collect, the average weight of the bags, what the tonnage is for not just that particular total, but at some of the locations that we go back to on a consistent basis. So I know that last month, or actually just earlier this month, we were working the business corridor of Blackstone and Abbey between Divisadero and Belmont. And we're usually there at least once a year because there's a lot of unsheltered individuals who are in the area. So we try to service that as much as we can. And because of that, we can see a gradual trend in a reduction of the amount of trash. So the first time we were out there, we picked up nearly a ton of trash this last time. And that was, I think, the first time we were out there was in 2022. This last time, it was just a little bit under 800 pounds. So it's nice to be able to see and to be able to track all of those things with us. We do see a difference in the particular seasons. For some odd reason, there's less trash in the summertime. It may be because there's a lot of people that are very active and not really participating in producing litter and trash and debris in the city because they're out in various other areas outside of Fresno. But we do see a little bit of a reduction and a slowdown for us in the participation rate from our volunteers. You know, our heaviest activity is always in the months of March, April, May, and in September, October, November.
Got it. Thank you. And then any conversation about prevention or anything like that from a city perspective for?
So one of the intents of Beautify Fresno was always to try to change behavior. And again, this goes into, I don't want to get into the broken window theory or anything like that, but that very definitely has proven itself to be very true here in the city of Fresno. And the areas that we are concentrating on in those, as I mentioned, not only in District 3, but south of Shaw, we start to again see a gradual reduction in the amount of trash that we collect. And you'll also notice that when it comes to graffiti, the amount, I know that a few years ago, our graffiti crews were servicing about 30,000 calls. But again, you have to be relentless. You can't let up on anything, and we've seen it happen on our highways. We work very closely with Caltrans, and if it's either their crews or one of our crews that will be out there on the highway, and I'm very proud to say that you very, very rarely see any graffiti on the top of the embankments on our highways. If you do see it, it's gone within hours. And so what that's done is that changes the behavior of the graffiti taggers. If they realize that their artwork is not going to be around for very long on the highways, they find other places to tag. And so that's the whole point of it. So, but we also, through public relations and some marketing efforts, we want to establish ourselves not only as a leader in this in the state of California, but more importantly to let people know that we're active. And so hopefully, whether it's through the branding or through the actual participation by our volunteers and the word that's getting out, they start to see, and they will start to, when they see that an area is clean, they're less likely to want to make it dirty right away. But again, you have to kind of repeat that process over and over again. So again, I'm never going to work myself out of a job, but it's nice to be able to see specific differences, especially in the areas of heaviest litter and graffiti accumulation on the city, to really start to become much more manageable and hopefully much less evident to our residents and business owners.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, all the work, and those are all my questions.
Excuse me, Mr. Stanford. Mark.
Oh.
I was trying to stop you. I had a follow-up question.
Sure.
How much of the expenses of Beautify disposal costs is homeless encampments?
I don't know that we necessarily cover that under I think that might come under solid waste.
Okay.
So, because we're technically Beautify Fresno's line item in the Department of Public Utilities budget comes under litter abatement. So that's really what we focus on the most. I think that when crews are called in, although we may have, use of one of our crews.
With them when you're out at one of the events, you don't have encounters to where you have to remove the encampments?
We don't really get into that. I do work very closely with the HEART team and also with the PD if there happen to be a significant number of homeless individuals. But, frankly, and I, knock on wood, in the almost 5 years we've been around, we've never had any issues at all with homeless individuals. As a matter of fact, in some cases, when we're cleaning up near an encampment, or at least an area where there's a number of homeless individuals, we've had them come up to us and say, "What are you guys up to?" And, "Hey, do you mind if I help?" And we've had homeless individuals that have participated in our cleanup events. So, there's, I guess maybe it's just showing the example out there and letting people know that we really do care about how our city looks. Maybe it's making a difference. I'd like to think so.
Do the quad crews report encampments?
Yes, they will report encampments. They will also.
How often do they do that?
What's that?
How often?
Oh, I think they're reporting on a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis,
Yeah.
And on a weekly basis, how many in numbers? How many reports?
I don't have that information in front of me, but I can provide that for you.
I would like that, please.
Absolutely, thank you.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair McCoy, can I jump in really quick? Just, I know Commissioner Barraza had a question on general fund. I've got the numbers here. So in FY24, I'm going to go back a few years. We are at about $23 million of general fund. FY25, I apologize, I had these numbers backwards. We're about $25 million, and then in FY26, about $22 million. So a slight decrease this year, but much higher than previous years before Measure P and in the Parks Department. So,
thank you.
Commissioner Miller, do you have any questions in regards to this presentation at this time? Vice Chair Ward?
I had a question for Director Mosier. It was about the expenditure category 5 project, the allocation of the $250,000 where you'd be working with the San Joaquin River Conservancy and Parkway Trust on minor capital projects. I believe that was a newly collaborative venture where they were going to meet with you and talk with you about what they were identifying, and then you were going to help coordinate with them to facilitate those happening. And I think as a part of your presentation, you said you were meeting monthly, and I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about how that was going.
Sure. I know for me that's actually one of my highlights of the weeks when those meetings happen. We're meeting out at the San Joaquin River Conservancy's offices, both with our Public Works team, myself, Assistant Director, and our Landscape Division Manager, and then staff from both the Conservancy and the Parkway Trust are present. We have a standing agenda. And for example, things like the PRAC motion for opening up Camp Pashayan, $150,000, that actually was either the first or second item on the agenda. So it's good collaborative discussion. For example, for that $150,000 Camp Pashayan project, we talked through it, learned that was kind of a real high-level, rough estimate. And the Conservancy asked our staff if we could go visit the site, walk through, and then help refine those cost estimates. So, and that same type of process is occurring on other requests as well, from the trust and from our team, getting feedback. How's the maintenance operation going? Anything that we should be looking at or seeing? And other projects then going forward. So it's been a positive, and on our end, on the city's perspective, we intend to keep those going.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Question, Director Mosier. I know I'm just full of questions tonight.
No
Normally
problem.
I'm the quiet one, right?
Glad to be here.
Where exactly is the progress on Camp Pashayan?
As far as Camp Pashayan, so there's a project that I just have limited involvement or familiarity with. As far as a grander vision for that, I'm not sure if someone from the Parks team might be able to speak to that. That a lot of that's happened with Building Healthy Communities, the design consultant, and the Conservancy. We, as a city, we've just had limited involvement in that grander vision. So what I do know is there's a desire to do some smaller dollar amount interim measures, such as repairing the restroom, getting perhaps parking, like a park mobile app running, and some basic security features out there that we could help accomplish this year through Measure P.
Thank you. When I was project director at Fresno Building Healthy Communities, I was lead on that project, so we were able to get about 10 food trucks out there, and we had like 3 school buses full of children, and people came and really enjoyed the walking trails, and we talked about the potential of Camp Pashayan, but a lot of the questions were around vegetative barriers because of the shooting range right there.
Yes.
So I was just wondering where the progress was at, because I would really like to see that happen and see some of the nonprofits who work with youth be able to, if we can get vegetative barriers up. It's a great camping ground. The river's right there. The walking trails are nice. We even set up games along the trails. So that site has potential, so I was just wondering.
Absolutely. So we're watching that one as well, and would likewise would look forward to an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Collier. Thank you. Commissioner Dolan.
A quick question for Beautify Fresno.
All three of you guys might as well just stay up.
I know, I was going to suggest that we bundle all our questions for the individual
We could have a little
departments,
bench
but
right here. That would be.
This is probably better for getting your cardiovascular in. So first of all, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for the work that Beautify Fresno does. I'm really always been impressed by it. I enjoy volunteering myself for it. But I have to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard about the beautification projects before, so I'm very interested and curious about that in the best way possible. How do you solicit budget and choose the projects that you do?
It's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing, because beautification projects by nature are much more difficult to host than just a simple cleanup event. I mean, if you told me right now, hey, Mark, why don't you meet me out, the zoo, and we're going to clean up along Belmont Avenue tomorrow at 9, it'd be easy for me to pack up a whole bunch of paper pickers and trash bags and to be out there right away. But when you're talking about even just something like planting trees,
right.
There's a process that needs to go through in order to determine that. So cash starts the party. So we need to figure out how much available funding is for those kind of beautification projects. And then we can, from there, determine within the scope of that budget, what are the practical projects that we can actually present. But the good news, at least for fiscal year 26, is that there's more money because again, Beautify Fresno started in 2021 with zero budget. I mean, we were literally building the plane as we were flying it. So that fiscal year 2022 budget was the first amount of money that we ever got. So we're continuing to add on things. And now, I mean, through the course of the years, I've been able to, piece by piece, buy more kind of landscaping equipment and other kind of beautification tools, paint and rollers and all the fun things that go with that. And so, for us, it's just looking at what are the opportunities out there. And then in talking with folks in the community, especially a lot of our nonprofits out there, that we see opportunities, we're happy to provide those. And now we're in the process of trying to think, okay, we have city assets that could provide a canvas for artwork. How do we go about that? But again, it's how much money do we have available, so we need to kind of, keep the scope of everything within that. We're thinking of projects all the time. It's just that eventually it's got to come down to the amount of money that's available, and so then we determine what projects are going to be moving forward at that time.
Well, if there's going forward, and I completely understand what you're saying about this is still evolving and developing. Going forward, if there's any way that the Parks Commission can help and support that work or get involved in some positive way, please let us know, because I think that's a really...
We'd certainly like to talk about that in fiscal year 27.
Yeah, I think it's a great add to the city. And then I have one other question for Mr. John from the Parks Department, which, I don't know, probably not a question you can answer. And it's a question that if I was motivated, I could do the math myself. But what is the value of, either in dollar or percentage, of what the commission recommends versus what the city council budget adopts? Because it seems quite small, quite honestly.
I do have that number. I
Oh,
can
good.
give that to you if you give me a moment.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You have it, but you don't have it like on top of your head.
Right.
Any other questions? He can come back up.
That's the last one I've got.
Okay.
Do you have a motion? I'm just kidding.
We'll move on.
You know, if you want, no, it's absolutely, you can get that information to us at a later date. It's water under the bridge, so to speak, at this point. But I do think it's worthwhile noting that this body is here and gathered with the charge of making recommendations. And quite honestly, those recommendations seem to be not very effective in terms of making it into the budget. So I'm just always looking to see how we can improve this process. And I know we've talked about this in the past.
Right. We'll be happy to get you those numbers. Some of them have different flavors of money in them.
Sure.
So yeah, we'd be happy to break that down for you and get you that through a trade memo or some other communication.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That'd be great for all of us to have
Yeah.
moving forward when we're making recommendations. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Trillo.
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you all for that presentation and being patient with us through those questions. We will now move on to hearings. ID number 25-1181, hearing to receive public input on expanded access to arts and cultural grant program. Would any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes for comment. And I do have some cards up here. First person I'll call is Christina Soto.
Hi again, everybody. As a former committee member, I want to say that I'm also very disappointed to see so many of our recommendations just kind of be ignored. It's very disheartening, and I can't help but feel like it's slightly disrespectful to the time that everybody that's up there invests in putting this together and listening to feedback from the community to gather this and present these recommendations that the community does also give feedback for you to make, and then to have those recommendations be ignored. So I just want to express as someone who helped come up with some of these that it's very disappointing. I just wanted to offer a few more suggestions, as I had mentioned prior, on how to improve the expanded access to the arts grant more equitable and more fair, aside from recognizing the subcommittee as a standing committee. I would also like to see and think it would be helpful to offer applicants, panelists, and all participants in the process the ability to submit anonymous feedback. I know that there was a lot of concern from applicants, from fiscal sponsors, about vocalizing their observations and their concerns for fear of retaliation, or how their applications would be received in consecutive years. And I think given what we've heard about, Lilia Chavez and FAC offering, sort of opinions above and beyond facilitating these discussions, I think that's a very valid concern, and I think that that's something that would help avoid that. I also want to echo what someone else mentioned earlier about having a third-party outside moderator that doesn't have any conflicts or relationships that could potentially affect the review process. I also believe that we would do well, or this committee would do well, to recommend some funds to possibly hire a consultant to review this process and compare it to perhaps other similar projects, across the state or the nation, to see if there's how we can improve. We keep saying this is new, we're all learning. It wouldn't hurt to perhaps call someone with a little bit more expertise to help form a more robust process for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker will be Brooke Payton.
Hi, I'm Brooke Payton. My question was actually for the previous item in regards to the budget, the proposed budget for the Parks Department.
That was a workshop. We don't take questions on the workshops, but thank you, though.
All right, thank you very much.
Next speaker will be Omay Lopez.
We'll get to it. First, on the Brown Act. This is not just a detail, it is a California law created to ensure that people's business is conducted openly. Right now, the EAAC subcommittee is being treated as an ad hoc to avoid Brown Act compliance. Commissioner Laura Ward wrote to me directly that while they had sought to make these meetings subject to the Brown Act, that raised a lot of additional concerns about city staff costs, and that was too burdensome, so the city attorney recommended the subcommittee remain ad hoc. Think about that. Following the law was dismissed as too costly and too burdensome. That is deeply concerning. Transparency and accountability are not luxuries. They are the foundation of public trust. And as Fresno Land reported last month, the ACLU and Fresno and First Amendment Coalition are suing the city of Fresno for 5 years of Brown Act violations in its budget process. Emails revealed that city leaders and even the city attorney knowingly allowed a secret budget committee to meet behind closed doors. That case is a warning. Ignoring open government laws erodes trust and puts the city at risk. If EAAC funding is meant to last for 30 years, we must hold ourselves to the highest standard of openness. Brown Act compliance isn't about staff costs, it's about honoring taxpayers and ensuring the arts funding process is honest and accountable. Second, independent oversight. I urge you to consider forming a community oversight group made up of artists, cultural bearers, and community members who are not financially tied to the funding. Their role would be to review processes, track equity outcomes, and publish data on how funds are distributed across race, zip codes, discipline, and organizational size. This isn't about adding bureaucracy. It's about building public trust, and independent oversight protects both the Arts Council and PRAC from accusations of favoritism or mismanagement. Fresno has a long history of distrust around arts and cultural funding. Safeguards are needed so we don't repeat those mistakes, and so the promise of Measure P lasts for the next 28 years. Third, on panelists. I've heard the suggestion that bringing in panelists from outside of Fresno is the solution to bias. With respect, I disagree. Outsourcing decisions to people who don't know our neighborhoods or our cultural realities risk repeating inequities. The solution is to build accountability and fairness inside Fresno through transparent processes, training for panelists, strong conflict of interest rules, and independent oversight. And finally, involve us now. Involve those of us here today and the many applicants experiencing these issues firsthand through anonymous surveys, public forums, workshops before you release another RFP to the next cycle. We have a lived experience of this process, and that feedback is critical to fixing it. And as we often say, anything about us without us is not for us. Fresno deserves to decide Fresno's future. So commissioners, this is about building a system we can all trust. Let's do it together here in Fresno.
There are no speakers online.
I will now close public comment. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item? We will now move on to the next hearing.
I'd like to say something. I don't know if it's inappropriate or not to this occasion, but I was wondering if some of you could get together and write down your specific concerns and your suggestions and send them to the commission. We would welcome that very much.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
You can send them to myself, which is, my email is kimberly@faithinthevalley.org, or you can also send them to our city attorney or our director, and they'll make sure that we get them. Thank you. Any other questions on this item? All right, we will now move on.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I was waiting. I was waiting to finish the other discussion, but may I say something?
Sure.
One of the things I requested recently was to get a copy of the list of the members of the panels and what their ethnic background is. And that was done a while back, and that's something that I really would appreciate, just to see what has been the level of participation that we have. The other item that I'd like to discuss at the appropriate time, I don't know if it's right now or when we discuss the projects that are being recommended, is the steps that have been taken in the process to prevent conflict of interest. And by that I mean that could be something as limited as the knowledge that a member of a panel has of an organization or the projects or their relationships. I don't know just what checks and balances you put in place, and I wouldn't say you, I'm referring to the director of the Fresno Arts Council, to prevent that and to ensure the transparency that we can have where everybody is, well, and we have trust in the process by folks in the community. And I know that we've heard a lot of information, but at the appropriate time, obviously, we'd like to hear from the Fresno Arts Council as to how does the process work. The other thing also that I wanted to point out is that there are guidelines that have been approved by this commission and recommended to the council for formal approval that we are following in this process. There is a time when those guidelines get revised, when we start the new cycle, and sometimes it's not as easy as to say, well, let's change this. We have written procedures that we have to follow, and we obviously try to do that to the extent possible. But it is a welcome thing. I agree that the comments from the public are always welcome and I speak as one commissioner, as being very interested in knowing how can we make it better, how can we improve the process. We're always open to that. But there is a place and time when those suggested changes can best be implemented depending on where we are in the process. Right now, we have already rules established that have to be followed. It would be a question of have those rules been followed or not. But then for future improvements, we would certainly welcome any recommendations any member of the public has. And that's really all I wanted to say, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, can I say something?
Sure.
Mr. Aguirre, if this group here was to put together a list of concerns and suggestions, could they send it to your attention at the Parks Division?
I think so, and then, excuse me, and if need be, I don't know if there's a need, because I know we do have the grant guidelines that are allowed to be reviewed on an annual basis and adopted by council. I don't know if there's a workshop that you all would like to see prior to next meetings, I guess, recommendation for approval. If they would want to send something to us, we'd be happy to look at it, prepare something for you all to review, look at, and possibly discuss at an upcoming meeting.
We'd have to kind of get a timeline on when they could get their work done and get it back to us.
Right, and we can talk to them about that. I think the other thing is next meeting is the 29th, and I believe that agenda item has the hearing, or will have the hearing to approve the grant recipients. So it would need to be pretty quick. I'd be happy to meet with you all after the meeting to kind of figure out timelines on your end. And obviously, we'd have to work through our processes through the City Attorney's Office to get that on the agenda for the 29th, which at this point, we've got 2 weeks to do so, and I think we can make it. But we'd probably need the information back by the end of this week at the latest. If that's doable, it gives you 3 or 4 days.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I add something real quick?
Just wait.
The other piece of information that's always very important to us and to me as a commissioner is to identify where those services that are going to be provided. We believe in spreading the benefits of Measure P to all parts of our city. So I know that the last time we wrote that at least we would want to know, broken down by zip code, who's getting the money, who's getting the resources. And I know there was a shift on looking at where the services are provided rather than where is the office of the nonprofit that's getting the money. So that, it always, from my standpoint, and because of the requirements of HRP, it's always going to be a very important piece of information that we will want to see. And the reason I say this, I know that on the 29th, we should be reviewing that information. I just don't think that we should wait until the last minute and they say, oh, we didn't break it down. Well, we've been talking about it for a long time, so I hope that that will happen.
No, it's broken down, and we'll have it broken down by zip code and city council district.
Okay.
So they heard us last time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Actually, on that point, I do believe the information that has already been presented to the commissioners identifies district and zip code. However, the information as it was presented to the subcommittee was a lot more helpful in that it had the language from the actual applications around, it had narratives around what all the different applicants, not all of them, because some just took zip codes, but it had the narrative language that was used by applicants about partnerships that they were creating in different parts of the city, efforts that they were making, and I thought it was just really a lot more helpful in understanding where the funding would be reaching, not just zip codes, especially since I think a lot of the organizations want to present that they do serve all areas of the city. But being able to see the language around the intentional efforts that was being made by all the applicants, I thought was really helpful, and I do think that it would be really beneficial for all of the members of the commission to have that same information. And then on just one of the other items that has come up, I feel like perhaps the way that I communicated in my email to Ome that she's read back made it appear as though we were resistant or not wanting the subcommittee to be subject to the Brown Act. And there's videos from all of last year where we discussed it at length, and our subcommittee was very hopeful that we could make it that way, and we weren't able to. But I think we are, hopefully we can explore other ways that we can make, our work feel more accessible, even if we can't get support to transition, all the way to that other status. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding this item? All right, I will move on to the next hearing. ID number 25-1182, hearing to receive public input on allocations related to Measure P, updates to the Parks Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan, and annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans. Would any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes. You want to come up? Come on up.
There are no speakers online.
Okay. I have our card already up here.
Hi, Brooke Payton again. Technically, my question is a capital project. It's budgeting for facilities improvement and repairs, specifically for Ted C. Wills in the Tower District. The Talking Book Library had to move out of its offices due to repairs needing to be made to the flooring, and they are currently temporarily housed in the central branch of the downtown Fresno County Public Library. I wanted to know if this issue is being addressed. I have asked the administration at the Fresno County Public Library about any capital project updates as far as Ted C. Wills is concerned so that they can move the Talking Book Library back in. And they said that it's kind of at a standstill because the city needs to allocate the funds for the repairs. I just wanted to speak out for the community as the Tower District Library advocate that having even the Talking Book Library available in the Tower District as a place to drop off items, have items held for you, and have one general use computer with Wi-Fi access and a heating and cooling space, we do need that back while we're still working on getting a proper Fresno County Public Library branch in the Tower District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and my husband said, leave it to me to turn a PRAC meeting into a Tower District Library subject.
Thank you. No one online? No more cards? I will close public hearing. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item? All right, it is 7:47. As always, I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Dr. Francine Apuda. She is greatly missed and much needed during this time. Thank you for coming out and enjoy the rest of your time with your evening. See you in 2 weeks.